Check it out, this picture from the lunar atlas. Look what it's showing, all these objects. But check it out, it's only 3/4 of the moon. They don't show the entire moon. Because if they do, what's on that quarter that is missing, it will freak people out. The so-called researchers are pathetic. If you really look at this picture, you have to find this anomaly right there. You have to think, what is that? That's no part of the picture. I mean, that's not the shining replica of the picture. That's in the picture. Those are the structures that surround the moon. The moon is in a well, exactly as Earth. The entire solar system, every celestial body is sitting inside a well. Earth well is 240,000 miles deep, and we are at the bottom of it. That's why it takes that long to go up and then to the right to go to the moon. To the left, you go to other parts of the solar system. Look at that. Our Peter Nell in The Moon is Your Worst Nightmare, he did an incredible job showing in detail what these structures look like. Now let me show you something that you might be seeing in the dark part of in what's supposed to be a space. Look at these objects. Those are electromagnetic vehicles, EMVs, exactly as Dr. Bergrum showed in the Remakers of Saturn, the book that he wrote, which really is a scientific paper. It's a document, precise as it can be, because that man worked with data. That man was the top scientist in NASA. It started out in NACA in 1945. And he is the one that designed and tested equipment for high altitude planes, airplanes, warplanes, survival kit, air supply, oxygen supply, I mean, pressure suit, pressurized cockpit and cabin, the entire plane. First, it was the cockpit first. Then they pressurized the whole thing with the B-29, the Stratofortress. That's how they call it, but that plane had a tendency, the motors tend to overheat, and it was a disaster at first. They perfected it later on. Boeing, it's a long story, but that man worked on missiles from submarine launch Polaris. He is the one that designed the umbilical cord that allows the motor to fire once the rocket is out of the water. The rocket comes out of the submarine engulfed in a vapor cloud. That vapor cloud allows the rocket to go up without touching the water. And the differential pressure allows the rocket to go up, I mean, like cork. in water. And that thing, once it goes off the water and it starts descending, the umbilical cord has a how they call that, a barometer or I can't remember what was a barometer or whatever. That umbilical cord fires the rocket engine that gives the propulsion for the rocket to go on its trajectory towards the target. They have problems until he took over that part of the program, the Polaris launch, submarine launch missiles, and he resolved all of that. And after that, they told anything that Norman say goes. Don't argue with him. Because that man was trained by the Ames Research Institute. He worked in NACA before he changed to NASA. Really NASA Nazi. That was taken over by the German scientists that were developing incredible technologies already. At the end of the war, they've been working on propulsion system, anti-gravity, because they read Tesla stuff. And they already applied, and it worked. Everything that they worked, that came from Tesla papers, everything worked. The batteries on those submarines, the U-boats, could last 30,000 miles underwater. The only problem was they needed air supply and they needed food. So they could last as long as they had all of that. So they had to surface at night to recharge the oxygen tanks, and to freshen up the submarine inside, scrub the carbon monoxide or dioxide that was building during the time it was sealed off. But the Americans, when they captured the first U-boat, they were so astounded. They were astonished when they saw the technology these people had, batteries they never heard of. Well, 30,000 miles batteries underwater. Wow, never heard of that. You can go around the globe one time without stopping. No other submarine has that technology. Anyway, this picture here is showing you several things. Not only all the structures on the moon, and none of those are impact crater, none of them. Right here you're seeing an impact crater with hexagonal shape. There's no striation from the impact. You don't see that in none of them. These are all molten holes and those double rings. Not only double ring, but triple and more. And then these creatures are very clever, the one that designed the stuff, because they did try to make it look like it was an impact crater. In reality, these are veins, surface tubes that carry either energy or teleportation or both. Who knows what's inside those? But these structures are molten holes. Now, going back to the space in this picture, just look at that. You're looking at faces. Look at that. Faces and structures and tubes, exactly like our Peter Nell did on the discovery on that picture from the Apollo 8. I mean, and all of that is made out of fingers and fingernails, and you can see it right there. It's all fingers. That is a freaking finger. And it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, but they combine the geometry in such a way that it looks like faces and stuff. But it's not. They're not. None of that is. It's all hands and faces. I mean, hands and fingers and fingernails. One example, this one right here. Let me lower the zoom out. This is a freaking finger. And there is the other finger. And the other finger. And you can see they're all aligned. And they have this, I already posted this before. I don't think I should waste my time on this anymore. People doesn't understand this, and it's just beating dead horse. But just look at that, how clear in the picture is that you can see all this structure, tubes. Because it's not, look at the objects right there, but the object is in a tube. Look at the tube right there. Those are conduits. And these are all fingernails and fingers. And they go in every which way because that's how they designed. The geometry is so perfect that no matter which way you look at this deal, it's always showing the same thing. Now that's what I call badass geometry. Look at this. Supposed to be triangular deal, and it's like a fractal. It repeats, but it's not. It's a fingernail, and look, it repeats here in a different way. It repeats, and oh my goodness, it's just never-ending deal. And they overlap. I mean, it's just so incredible that once you realize what this whole thing is, this just make it drive you freaking nuts. Because nobody's capable of seeing it. They don't see it, or they don't want to see it, they don't want to accept it. It's too much for the regular human idiot that cannot think outside the box. The proverbial box that we have been encased in. The educational system that we are experiencing is so obsolete. Is appalling. And what is this image showing? This structure. It shows a hand right here. Let me do it in dark color because it's apparently just better. Look, This is always what